Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad you could all join us this fine Friday morning. Hope everyone is doing well today. So, this I can jump straight into it. So, hello everyone. How are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kaniar, and I'm a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, during these webinars, we as the Afriforex team, we identify what trading opportunities we will be looking at for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, not here alone. We do have John. He is here in the back office. We'll be here to assist you on whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and John will be there to respond to you. So let's jump straight into it. As usual, we'll start off with our watch list. So looking at our watch list from yesterday and today, there has been a slight change in the pairs that we're looking at. So yesterday, we were looking for buying opportunities on the Australian dollar, the Swiss franc, as well as the New Zealand dollar. And we were looking for selling opportunities on the euro, the British pound, the Japanese yen, Canadian dollar, as well as the US dollar. Now you can see today, there has been a shift of a number of pairs, mainly the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar pairs. As you can see, we did have them on the buy side, but they have moved to the sell side today. So today we will still be looking for buying opportunities on the Swiss franc. However, we will also be looking for buys on the British pound as well as the euro. And we'll look to mix and match these three pairs with all these other pairs on the sell side. So as usual, before we do jump on to today's pairs, let's have a look at the pairs that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today. So we'll start off here with the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, yesterday our bias was to look for buying opportunities, and you can see the three areas that John had pointed out. During the London session, the price was within this buyer's area. Wanted to see whether or not some big boy buyers were actually going to end up reacting. Did end up seeing these sellers who were the ones who were holding the market to the downside. The buyers attempted a bid during the London session, but the price came back. Unfortunately, when it came back, you can see it came to the downside. It was actually holding below. So there was no big sign that the buyers were actually going to come back. Wanted to see what happened during the US session at 3. Nothing much happened there. And you can see at 4:30, that's when actually the price came to the downside, came below, held below an area. So this confirmed that this pair did fall off our watch list, and there was no trading opportunity for us yesterday on the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, the story is pretty much similar with most of the Australian dollar pairs. Here we have the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. Our bias yesterday was to look for buying opportunities. You can see during the London session, the price attempted to go to the upside, but we were so close within this seller's area, we do not want to jump in on any buying opportunities just yet. You can remember, John also had pointed out there were some sellers holding the market here, so it was an area to watch out for. And you can see as the price went to the upside, it came back down to below. Came up, came back down. So we did want to look for buying opportunities, but if we did want to buy, we needed either a breach to the upside or ideally a pullback, potentially within the support and resistance area. You can see that did not happen. In fact, at 4:30, the price actually came down, came and bounced off this small buyer's area where we did seem to be in some sort of small range. But unfortunately, you can see today, as the price is coming down, there is Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar weakness. And that's the reason why this is a pair that we're not going to be focusing on today. Now, similar situation, here we have the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Bias yesterday was to look for buying opportunities. You can see during the London session, the price actually was able to break this area to the upside. It did look as if it was holding above. Wanted to see whether or not the big boy buyers during the US session were actually going to be able to take off, or at least allow this market to take off to the upside. But you can see at 3 o'clock, the price actually came to the downside and actually held below. So that wasn't a good sign. And at 4:30, rather than going to the upside, it confirmed that it held below and managed to come all the way back down to our main buyer's area. Now, even though the price came back down here, there could have been a small potential buying opportunity. But unfortunately, the buys weren't really that strong. You can see the area that John still had pointed out yesterday. That's exactly where the price came to before the Australian dollar showed a lot more weakness today. So unfortunately for us, this is a pair that did not work out for us yesterday. No real trading opportunity. And unfortunately as well, I'm not going to be focusing on that pair today. So moving on to the next kind of pair we did have the euro against the Swiss franc. And you can see the three areas that we had pointed out. We were looking for selling opportunities based on these three areas. Now, obviously, we wanted to look for a sell, but the price was within this buyer's area during the London session. You can see the strength of the buyer that came in at that point in time. We wanted to see how and when these buyers are actually going to die out. So you can see the price managed to pull back. Unfortunately, at 3 o'clock, the price actually continued taking off to the upside. And you can see the US big boys did manage to continue taking the price so close to where the seller's area. Even though during the Asian session, the price has attempted to come down, you can clearly see there's been no big boy, actually, or at least no trading opportunity that it did end up giving us yesterday. So there's a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. Now, similar situation here, we have the British pound against the Swiss franc. Our bias yesterday was to look for selling opportunities, and you can see the three areas that John had pointed out. Now, during the London session, we were within a buyer's area. We always point out, never sell within a buyer's or buy within a seller's area. So in this case, we were within a buyer's area and we were looking for sales, so no selling opportunities there. And you can see the buyers didn't manage to take the price up higher. You can see it did end up holding above this area. So at that point in time, we wanted either the price to come down, reach and hold below this area, or potentially get the price coming back all the way to the top, which you can see it did manage to get all the way till within this particular area. And around 4:30, there was a small selling opportunity where you can see the price managed to come down. But remember, we always mention, make sure you manage your trades within these problem areas, because you can clearly see this is an area that's still giving issues even today. So unfortunately for us, since both the British pound and the Swiss franc are both on the same side, what you might find is this market actually just ranging. So not necessarily showing any big move to one side or the other. And that's the reason why there's a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. So moving on to the next kinds of pairs we did have the New Zealand dollar pairs. Similar correlation with the Australian dollar pairs, where we were looking for buying opportunities on this. You can see during the London session, we're holding within this particular area, or at least holding above. Wanted to see how the big boy buyers are going to end up reacting, but you can see at 3 o'clock, nothing much happened. Wanted to see what happened at 4:30, but at 4:30, the price actually ended up coming to the downside. So unfortunately, once it did that, was holding above, it did give us a probe, but we're hoping to see the price actually take off to the upside. But similar situation, the New Zealand dollar is mainly active during the Asian session, and you can see the weakness that did end up coming in. So unfortunately, this pair did fall off our watch list, and it is not on our watch list today. So next pair we did have was the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. Similar situation, our bias was to look for buying opportunities, but you can clearly see that 10 o'clock, the price was in the middle of this particular area, so no buying opportunity just yet, since we're so close within the seller's area. And you can see these sellers did end up giving us issues the whole day. At 3 o'clock, price was still holding below, and we wanted to look for a buying opportunity, at least waiting for the price to reach and hold above. That did not happen. The price kept on holding to the downside. But even today, during the Asian session, wanted to see whether or not the price was actually going to be able to break and hold above, because it did look as if that's what it was attempting to do. Unfortunately, the weakness on the New Zealand dollar during the Asian session, you can see how much it has brought this price down lower. So we might find it actually ranging today, but since that's the case, we want something that will give us a clear direction. That's the reason why there's a pair that we're not going to be focusing on today. Now, last but not least, for the review pairs, we did have the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Bias here was to look for buying opportunities. The buys did not really fully take off. No clear sign of any big boy buy. You can see that the buyers were grinding up slowly. Wanted to see whether or not and how the price is actually going to hold above within this area. At 3 o'clock, unfortunately, the price actually broke this area to the downside. 4:30, the price is actually holding below, and that's when it ended up coming to the downside. So even though it did end up coming close within this buyer's area, you can see this illustration that John had pointed out, what we wanted to see. Came a bit close and attempted to go to the upside, but similar situation, we need a big boy to actually move the market. That's the reason why we always mention these times, 10, 3, and 4:30, because that's when a big boy could actually take over the market. So we mentioned 10, 3, and 4:30, just that's mainly because of the London and US session, but you can clearly see this dotted line that you see here is a period separator, meaning each the space in between these two lines is a full day. So right here, this was midnight, so that's when the Asian session was opening, or at least the Asian market, and you can see that's the reason why the price was actually going down at that time. So that's it for all the review pairs. Unfortunately, there was not necessarily much yesterday, but we will end up definitely looking for some nice trading opportunities today. So before we do jump on to today's pairs, let's end up having a look at a few screenshots that we did manage to get. So here we'll start off with Caroline. Caroline Cassini did manage to grab very many nice trading opportunities yesterday. Did end up grabbing a very nice buying opportunity. This was, I guess, much earlier in the morning, taking a counter buy towards the upside on gold. So very, very well done on this. Your stop loss is already above your entry. You can see where you're targeting within that take profit area. You also did manage to grab some nice selling opportunities on the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. Very nice sells right there at the top. You can see the price already coming down in your favor. Stop loss is below your entry. I think this was one of the main trades that actually ended up working yesterday. So very, very well done on that trade, Caroline. You also grabbed a selling opportunity on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Seems that you did end up taking advantage of the counter since we were within a seller area. So very, very well done on this, but very well done due to the fact that you've already managed your trade, and you can see it is a risk-free trade. So very good job on this trade, Caroline. And it seems that after you got the buy on gold, you did also end up grabbing the sell. It seems like this was earlier today morning, so very well done. Very nice sells right there at the top. You can see you've secured a very good amount of profit on this trade as the price is all the way down here. So very, very good job on these trades, Caroline. Keep up the great work that you're doing. So also next, we get Claire. Claire, happy to see a screenshot here as well. You did manage to grab a very nice selling opportunity on gold right there at the top, right? You can see after the market did end up pulling back, you got it within a support and resistance area, and the price is already coming down in your favor. So very good job on this trade. You haven't yet managed your trade by putting your stop loss to break even, but I do know, we know you, at least I do know you know what you're doing. And so very, very well done in this trade, Claire. So also next, we did get Dan Pickett. You did manage to grab a nice selling opportunity on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Very nice sell right there at the top. You can see the price coming down in your favor. It seems that you have done a number of management, or at least managed the trade quite a bit as it's coming down. But you can see you are still riding the trade, making sure that you're securing profit. So very good job on that trade, Dan Pickett. You also did grab a selling opportunity on the DAX 40. So very, very well done. So these are the German indices. You grab a very nice selling opportunity right there at the top. You can see the price coming down very well in your favor. Good trade management. It is a risk-free trade already due to the fact that your stop loss is below your entry. So very, very well done for those trades done again. So also next, we did get John. We do know you know John, a good friend of mine here who has been also doing the webinars here with me. So he did manage to grab a nice selling opportunity on the Canadian dollar against Swiss franc right there where the sellers are. Can see the price really coming down in your favor already. Stop loss below your entry. Good trade management. It is what we do. So ideally, we do practice what we teach. So very, very good job on that trade, John. Keep up the good work that you're doing. So also next, we did get Mark. Mark Ingori did grab a very, very nice buying opportunity on the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. Very nice buy right there at the extreme. You can see the price already going up very well in your favor. Secured a good amount of profit because your stop loss is way above your entry. And we do know this price did end up continuing to go up higher. So very, very well done on that trade, Mark. And you also did grab a nice selling opportunity as well on gold right there at the top. You can see the price coming down in your favor. Not too sure where your stop loss is, but I do know that you probably have already managed, possibly within this yellow line. So very, very good job on these trades, Mark. Keep up the great work that you're doing. So guys, remember, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are there in the chat box. So we're about to jump into today's pairs. So as usual, we'll start off with the Swiss franc pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side, do the same thing with the British pound as well, and then move on to the euro before we do have a look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So we'll start off with the Swiss franc, or at least Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So these are brand new entry in our watch list. And in this pair, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. So you can see the price has already come down, come back within some sort of support and resistance area that we have not breached and held below. You can see that's clearly a probe that has happened right there. So for us, we definitely want to look for sells, but we don't want to sell right here within a bias area. So we'd hopefully see the price coming back in with either within this seller's area, or it could come back all the way to this extreme seller's area for us to look for a sell. So remember, as long as we're holding below the red SNR, our bias is to look for the selling opportunity. So what I'll personally be waiting for is potentially a pullback, because right here, we did have this support and resistance area where the sellers, you can see, have attempted to push this price down lower. Now, if they've not been able to push it down lower from this price, there's a possibility we might need a better price. In terms of a better price, that's where you find the market probing a lot of the times where it ends up going up a bit higher, incites many people to look for buying opportunities. And if we do see the price coming back in and holding below, especially if it lines up within one of the market opening times, we could definitely end up finding a very nice selling opportunity there. Alternatively, if we do end up getting the price actually breaking this area to the downside, so if we do see the price actually is able to come down lower, and we see the price actually holding below within this area, and similar situation, if it lines up within one of the market opening times, you could find some very nice selling opportunities there as well on the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So let's wait to see what ends up happening right now, but that is the game plan that we'll be watching out to see. So as we move on to the next currency pair, here we have the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Similar situation, these are brand new entry in our watch list, and our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. So you can see during the Asian session, the New Zealand dollar weakness that really did come in, even making a new low, breaking that area to the downside. But remember, if an area has been broken, as you can see, the price has come down lower. What we always want to see is a retest where the price actually ends up coming back in. We see the price actually holding below within this area, we could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity. But remember, we should be looking for sales as long as we're holding below the red support and resistance area. The price breaks and holds above that area, then ideally this pair will fall off our watch list. So we have identified this support and resistance area, but do also watch out for certain areas where sellers are. Remember, we always talk about buy with buyers, sell with sellers. Since in this case, we're looking for selling opportunities, just because we have this support and resistance area here, that doesn't mean that the price might not even spike all the way back up towards this main seller before we do see the price coming down. So just watch out for those particular levels for those selling opportunities. So I hope that is clear on the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc, pretty clear cut on what our game plan is. So moving on, we do have the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. Now, we did have these kinds yesterday for looking for buying opportunities, and we still have it today. So you can see the three areas, although we have adjusted the top area slightly. So you can see during the London session yesterday, the price actually broke this area to the downside and was actually holding below. What we wanted to see is, you can see this illustration that John had pointed out, we're able to get the price coming back in and holding above. We could end up looking for a buying opportunity there. But unfortunately, the price broke below and was holding to the downside. So at that point in time, no buying opportunity just yet. And you can see the price continued holding. And at 4:30, the price actually continued coming down all the way back towards the main extreme buyers area. However, you can see how many attempts it has done to try and break this area to the downside, and it has not. So this is a good sign for us, since we are going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we'll still focus on the same areas as we did yesterday, although this top one we have adjusted slightly. So right now, the price is bouncing within this area. We can see the sellers coming down. The buyers do seem to be coming in quite aggressive. So hopefully we can end up getting this price coming back in a bit lower. Maybe it might be ranging within here before we end up being able to look for buying opportunities. But also watch out, because you can see we do have some sort of small support and resistance area here. You can see it was an area of support. Once it was breached the downside, it is an area of resistance. You can see the market probing. So if you do end up getting this price potentially breaking this area to the upside, so maybe you might find a small buying opportunity. If the price holds above there, you might actually find the price actually going to the upside. But the only problem with that is this area is so close. And now in terms of risk to reward, it might not necessarily make the best sense, because you see, if you end up entering a buy there, your stop loss is down here, your first problem area is right here, and doesn't even give you a risk reward of 1:1. That's not what we want. We always want to try and see if we can end up getting our entries a bit lower, because once we do that, any lower within that particular area, even if let's say it was within an area like here, you can see it does end up giving you a good risk to reward, at least a risk reward of 1:2, still targeting the same area. So we'll be watching out to see what ends up happening here. But definitely the game plan is definitely still look for those buying opportunities. Now, if you do miss this trading opportunity here and you find the price is able to break this area to the upside and hold above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities within this support and resistance area, especially if it lines up within one of the market opening times. So hope that's clear on what we're going to be looking at on the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. As we move on to the next currency pair, this is the Canadian dollar against Swiss franc. This is the trade that John and Caroline did manage to end up grabbing yesterday. They did end up discussing it within the Afriforex snipers team. So he did manage to grab a very nice selling opportunity within here, but you can see the story ended up aligning. You can see the illustration John had pointed out, wanting a probe. That ended up happening at 10, where it looked as if it was attempting to break this area to the upside. It came back in and was holding below. And if you do look at the timings at 3, was still holding there. It actually ended up taking off at 4:30. So you can clearly see the price managed to come all the way back down, targeting this bottom area. You can see that did end up giving a very nice risk reward of 1:3. So today, the bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities, but we have adjusted the level slightly. So still looking for sells, but you can clearly see where we are. We're within an area where the bias, so no selling opportunities for us just yet. We need one of two things to happen. Either this price needs to break this area to the downside, and if we see the price holding below, then we should be able to look for selling opportunities. Apologies for that. Then we should be able to look for selling opportunities at that point in time. Ideally, if the price is able to get towards this area and actually go down lower. Now, the other alternative that we do end up having is if we end up getting the price coming back in, at least within this support and resistance area, see some sort of slowdown of the buyers, aggressive sellers showing up, then we could end up finding some very nice selling opportunities within the support and resistance area. So do watch out for that. At least let's wait for a pullback or a breach to the downside for us to look for those sells. Now, moving on to the next and last Swiss franc pair that we do have. Here we have the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Yesterday and today, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. You can see yesterday, we're looking for sells based on these three areas. Unfortunately, the price was just ranging, bouncing between these two areas, so nothing really much happened. Similar situation during the London session, there could have been a small selling opportunity because you can see at 10 o'clock, the price managed to come all the way back down towards this buyer's area, couldn't breach, managed to come back up. This was around 4:30, going to around even 6:30. Price was just ranging and bouncing between these two levels. So the story is pretty much the same for today. We'll still be looking for selling opportunities. And if we are within a range, obviously the best place to look for your selling opportunity will be at the top of the range. Now, if we do end up getting this price able to actually break this area to the downside, and we see the price holding below, we should be able to look for selling opportunities then. But for now, since we are still within the range, let's wait to see if we can end up getting the price coming back in between that seller's area for us to look for nice selling opportunities at the top, making sure to manage our trade within the bottom of the range. So hope that is clear, pretty clear cut on the currency pair that we're looking at. So that's it for all the Swiss franc pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the Swiss franc with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to move on to the British pound pairs and do the exact same thing. So we'll start off here with the British pound against the Australian dollar. Now, yesterday we did have this currency pair. However, it was for a selling opportunity. So you can see the three areas that John had pointed out. And during the London session, the price was holding above the support and resistance area. We're within a buyer's area. So no selling opportunities at that point in time. You can see the price continue to grind up higher, waiting for big aggressive sellers to show up. There were some small sellers that showed up a bit. But you can see as the price pulled back, no big boy sellers showed up again. And at 3 o'clock, the price had actually broken this area to the upside and actually held above. You can see at 3, price confirmed that it was holding to the upside. So at that point in time, it did fall off our watch list. So there should not have been any more selling opportunities at that point in time. And you can see the price has continued to go up higher. But it's due to the fact that the British pound and the Australian dollar fundamentals have changed. And that's the reason now we'll be looking for buying opportunities on this currency pair. So these will be the levels we'll be focusing on. Aggressive buys all the way down within here. So as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, our bias is to look for buying opportunities. You can see right now we're within an area where they're sellers. So the game plan should be obvious. There's nothing much for us to do right now, unless either the buyers take over and we can end up waiting for some sort of pullback to look for those buying opportunities, or we'll wait for a pullback to actually come in, give us some sort of pullback in the support and resistance area for us to look for buying opportunities there. So I do end up hoping the game plan is clear on what we're looking at. Nothing much for us to do just at this moment. We'll wait to see if we can end up getting that pullback coming in. So moving on to the next currency pair, we did have the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. This is a trade against Mark. You did manage to end up grabbing that buying opportunity all the way down there. But you can see yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities based on these three areas. You can see during the London market open, we actually got the price coming up, bounced off within this seller's area and actually managed to come back down within this buyer's area. But you can see the price actually ended up holding to the upside. So at that point in time, wanted to see what was going to happen within this seller's area. Nothing much happened. At 3 o'clock, the price actually just got strength, some more strength, broke this area to the upside. Once it did that, it did end up falling off our watch list. But similar situation with the British pound against the Australian dollar. Both the British pound and the New Zealand dollar have switched sides. So we will be looking for buying opportunities on this currency pair today. So these will be the three levels we will be focusing on to look for those buying opportunities. So you can see a similar story that's happening with the British pound against the Australian dollar. We need one of two things, either breach to the upside, price holding above for us to look for buying opportunities, or we'll need to see this price actually coming back down, giving us some sort of pullback towards the support and resistance area before we're able to look for buying opportunities. Remember, watch out for those market opening times 10, 3, and 4:30. But just on a side note, I know we keep on mentioning and sounding like a broken record when we keep on saying 10, 3, and 4:30, but be aware that those timings are actually going to end up changing. This is the last week that we're going to be saying 10 o'clock. The London market starting from next week is actually going to be open from 11 o'clock. So times are going to move 1 hour ahead, meaning the Frankfurt market open, which is usually at 9. The reason why most of the time at 9 o'clock you find moves starting to happen, or we end up having some news that is actually coming out, at least next week, take note, it will be starting from 11. So it won't be 10, 3, and 4:30. In fact, it will be 11, 3, and 4:30. But that's only for next week. The week after that, we will be switching the US dollar as well, which will be going up again 1 hour. So do take note of that. So We'll move on to the next pair that we do have. Right here, it's a brand new entry in our watch list, and we are going to be looking for buying opportunities on the British pound against the Japanese yen. So we'll be focusing on these three areas to potentially look for buying opportunities. And you can see the way the buyers are reacting within this buyer's area. This is what we want to see. The only problem is we're so close within the seller's area. So that's usually the issue where most new traders, they see this big move, they start buying right now, not realizing they're within an area where they're sellers. So for us, if we are potentially within a range, let's wait to see if we can end up getting this price coming back in. It's still possible for us to look for buying opportunities, making sure to manage our trade within the seller's area. But what we'll be waiting to see as well is if we can end up getting this price breaching and holding to the upside, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities as well. You can see it has attempted to break this area to the upside, but it was just a probe. But if we do get the price breaching and holding above, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities on the British pound against the Japanese yen. So hope the game plan is clear and what we're going to be looking at on the British pound against the yen as we move on to the next British pound pair, which is the British pound against the Canadian dollar. Brand new entry in our watch list. And in this situation, our bias here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. So you can see and notice with the area that we're at, we're within an area where there's sellers. So since we're looking for buyers, we do not want to buy within an area where there's sellers. You don't know whether or not the sellers are actually going to come back in. So that's the reason why for us, we always try to be patient, wait for the price to actually come back in within these areas of interest that we actually want to see for us to actually end up taking those trading opportunities. So we'll wait to see what happens within this support and resistance area, especially if you end up looking at it at a higher time frame. You can see there's some certain problem areas within here. We've approached an area where there's sellers. So chances are the price can pull back within this SNR. It can even come back all the way down to the red support and resistance area. Those who have done the one-on-one mentorship will be able to identify why this price might be the best place to look for the buys, but that's the reason why we need to be patient and wait to see what ends up happening. So hope the game plan is clear and at least what we're looking at on the British pound against the Canadian dollar as we move on to the next and last British pound pair, brand new entry in our watch list, which is the British pound against the US dollar. So it's similar correlation that's coming in with the British pound against the Canadian dollar, where they do look some sort of similar, at least some sort of similar patterns, basically. So right here, you can see the price came to the downside, the buyers shot up, came back to challenge these sellers. The sellers are not necessarily showing that much strength. So for us, we definitely want to look for buying opportunities, but we're fully aware that the price can pull back within this support and resistance area before we're able to look for buying opportunities. But it can also end up coming all the way down towards this extreme area before we're able to look for those buys. So just do take note of one of those two areas. Just watch out when the price approaches this area, see what ends up happening. If the price breaches and holds below, then chances are we could be coming back down to the extreme area. If we do see the price holding above, then chances are we could be actually looking for a buying opportunity within the support and resistance area, making sure to manage your trade within the seller's area at the top. So hope that is clear, at least on all the British pound pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the Swiss franc as well as the British pound with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to move on to the euro and do the exact same thing. So we'll start off with the euro against the Australian dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias on this was to look for selling opportunities, but no sells really ended up showing up. You can see the three areas that John had pointed out. The price was actually on its way down, looking as if it was coming to the downside. Now, remember, that's the reason why we always mention wait for confirmation. All those people who must have been jumping in on sells after seeing this and maybe jumping in on selling opportunities there, they definitely were stopped out. If you do not wait for the price to pull back and show confirmation that it's actually holding below, this just came straight back in. That confirmed that this big move down there was just a probe. So there was no selling opportunity at that point in time. And you can see, wanted to see what happened during the US session. You can see the US big boys from 3 o'clock did manage to actually get the strength to actually break this area to the upside. As soon as it did that, this pair did fall off our watch list. However, it is back on our watch list today, mainly because the euro as well as the Australian dollar have switched sides. So today we're going to be looking for buying opportunities based on these three areas to be within an area where there's sellers now. So as usual, we do not want to buy within that particular location. And you can see the correlation that's coming in with these the Australian dollar pairs as well as the New Zealand dollar pairs. If they end up looking the same, as you can clearly see during the Asian session, the way the price came up, to go to the British pound against the Australian dollar, it looks pretty much similar. So when you see one pulling back, you could end up finding another opportunity, or at least seeing the other pair, it could end up actually working out within that particular location. Or you could end up using that correlation to determine when you can actually jump in on the trade. So Do take note of that. If you see a pullback happening on one, chances are it's going to be happening on the other. If you see the buyers reacting on one, you could see them reacting on the other pair. So just watch out for that. So hope that's clear, at least on the euro against the New Zealand dollar. So moving on, the euro against the Australian dollar. So moving on to the euro against the New Zealand dollar. Similar situation. Yesterday, bias was to look for selling opportunities. It did the exact same thing with the euro against the Australian dollar. It looks as if it was attempting to break this area to the downside, very strong sellers, but the price never actually came back in and held below. In fact, it did the opposite. It came back up and confirmed that it was holding to the upside. And if you do notice, that was at exactly 3 o'clock. And that's when the price actually started going to the upside. Once it reached and held above, you can see once the price went to the upside, this is what we confirm that that level has actually been broken. Once it did that, this pair did end up falling off our watch list. But today, the bias here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. You can see the same correlation coming in within these pairs, especially the New Zealand dollar as well as the Australian dollar. They do seem as if they're quite correlated during that weekend. So overall, we will be looking for buying opportunities, but we need one of two things. Remember, either this pullback to come in fact, the pullback would be the best thing, especially for us. Forex team, we definitely prefer getting those pullbacks, but be aware that the price can still end up getting a bunch of strength. It's able to breach this area to the upside, and we do see the price holding above. Then we should potentially see the price continuing to go to the upside. So we'll be watching out for that, but be aware, especially after such a huge move, guaranteed so many people are jumping in on buying opportunity. So just be aware of that, and be aware that the price can still come back down all the way to the red support and resistance area. Especially if I go up to the larger time frame, the 1 hour time frame, you can see this is a major support and resistance area that the market has struggled so many times to actually break. You can see every time it goes to the upside, comes back in, shows confirmation that it's holding. So right now, the fact that we've broken this area to the upside, I wouldn't be surprised if the price is able to even come back down all the way within this particular area before we end up seeing the buying opportunity coming. So just watch out for that. Wait to see signs of big boy buyers coming in, or at least if we do end up seeing the pullback actually starting to come down. So hope the game plan is clear, at least on what we're looking at doing on this time span. Nothing much just as yet. We want to see either the pullback or the breach to the upside. So moving on to the next currency pair that we do have, brand new entry on our watch list. Here we have the euro against the Japanese yen. And today, our bias here is going to be looking for buying opportunities based on these three areas. And if you do notice, this looks kind of similar with what we have just seen on the British pound against the Japanese yen. So if I quickly go to that, you will be able to see it has, or at least looks as if it's done something similar. You can see the way the buyers have come up quite aggressive within some sort of small range, but we're back within an area where the sellers. So if you do end up noticing, that's exactly the same thing that's happening here. So if we are within a range, the game plan will pretty much be the same. You can see the yen pairs do end up correlating quite a bit. So it's either we'll look for our buying opportunities down here at the bottom of the range, or we are able to get the price breaching and holding above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities. Even though you can see the main sellers area is right there at the top, you cannot disregard there are some sellers right here who did manage to push the price down lower. So even if you do manage to grab your buying opportunity, do make sure you manage your trade within this blue support and resistance area, or at least take note, set an alert there. The price approach is there. Try and see what kind of reaction you end up seeing. If you see the price breaking to the upside, then you have nothing to worry about. But if you start seeing some sort of reaction, you can decide at least do some sort of trade management, either closing some of your position or moving your stop loss higher, at least doing something to manage your trade. So hope that is clear, at least on what we're looking at on the euro against the Japanese yen. And remember, you can end up looking at the other yen pairs to be able to try and identify, because the way the price is moving, you can see they all look similar. Swiss franc against the yen, the British pound against the yen, as well as the euro against the Japanese yen. So you definitely know the yen is potentially trying to be on the move, but let's wait to see whether or not we'll actually end up getting that pullback coming in, or we get the price breaching and holding above. Let's wait to see what ends up happening there. So moving on to the next euro pair, we do have the euro against the Canadian dollar. This currency pair, brand new entry in our watch list, and our bias here is to look for buying opportunities. You can see how high the price went up yesterday, quite aggressively. So most people are definitely jumping in on buys, and it looks very obvious to most people. But for us, yes, we're going to be looking for buying opportunities, but we need to see a pullback, or at least to incite many people to start looking for selling opportunities. So we wait to see whether or not we'll end up getting a reaction within this first support and resistance area for us to look for buying opportunities. but we're fully aware that the price can still come back down all the way. You can find that the price might end up pulling back down all the way to this particular support and resistance area before we do end up looking for buying opportunities. And the main reason for that is, especially if we go to the 1 hour time frame, you can see this market is within some huge range, bouncing between these two levels. This being the bottom of the range, you could find the price coming back all the way down there before we do end up seeing the price going up higher. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. In fact, this one will possibly even just set an alert within this particular area. So if the price ends up approaching that location, we'll be interested to see what ends up happening here. So moving on to the last euro pair that we do have is the euro against the US dollar, brand new entry in our watch list. And here our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we'll pretty much be focusing on these three areas to potentially look for those buys. So you can see the aggressive buyers all the way down here at the bottom. As long as we're holding above this area, we should be looking for buying opportunities. Right now, you can see the buyers have slowed down. The sellers are starting to come in, which is exactly what we want to see. Because remember, in order for us to buy, we need sellers to come in. So wait to see what ends up happening. If we do end up seeing the buyers reacting within the support and resistance area, we'll definitely look for our buying opportunities there. But especially if it lines up within one of the market opening times, we could find some very nice buying opportunities. Otherwise, it's a similar situation. You could find the price coming back down all the way to this red support and resistance area. Those who have done the one-on-one mentorship will know exactly why this buy might end up working out from there. But let's wait to see. The sellers, they do seem to be coming in a bit aggressive right now. Let's wait for them to slow down for us to look for those buys. So hope that is clear on all the kinds of pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the buy side with all these pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to look at the indices, then we're going to look at gold and silver. So in terms of the indices, we'll start off with the NASDAQ, the NAS 100. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. There were some small sells that did end up working out. Can see during the London session, the price was within this buyer's area. So no selling opportunities within a buyer's area. Did end up getting the pullback coming in, which is what we wanted to see. And if you can realize the price within this seller's area at 3 o'clock was within this in particular nice area, and you could have actually looked for a very nice selling opportunity, making sure to manage your trade within this buyer's area. But you can see the price looked as if it was attempting to break this area to the downside, but we never got the price to actually fall below. So pretty much we'll still be focusing, since we are still within these particular same areas, we'll pretty much be focusing on the same locations. So aggressive sellers all the way at the top there. So as long as we're holding below that area, we should be looking for selling opportunities. Right now, we're back within this seller's area. So we could find this market actually ranging for us to end up getting a selling opportunity within this location. But most of the time, what you find is that when the price ends up giving you a pullback. So for example, we end up getting, the price came down, we got this pullback coming in, came back within this support and resistance area. The sellers have attempted to come down, but they weren't able to make a new low. It means that possibly this price might not be good enough. So what, in order for them to get a better price, you could end up seeing the price looking as if it's going to the upside. Many people start jumping in on buying opportunities. Then if you find the price coming back down and holding below, then we should be able to find a very nice selling opportunity within this area, especially if it lines up within one of the market opening time. But we'll wait to see what ends up happening on this one. But the game plan in terms of the levels are pretty much going to be the same. But remember, I know John had pointed out this particular location. It's mainly because if we are able to get the price breaching and holding below this area, you can be able to target all the way down toward this blue support and resistance area. Mainly because, especially if I do go up to the 1 hour time frame, you can see it's a major support and resistance area, an area where buyers have pushed up multiple times. So if the fact that the price could end up pulling back there, definitely make sure you manage your trade within that location. So hope that is clear on the NAS 100 as we move on to the Dow Jones, the US 30, or whatever you want to like to call it. So here, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. Still is today. But you can see yesterday, we did not necessarily get that much of a big move per se. Mainly because you can see during the London session, we waited to see the price potentially coming back in this seller's area. It couldn't. You can see the price is just ranging and holding within this area. At 3 and 4:30, that's when the price attempted to come down, but we were still within this buyer's area right there. It's only later on, as you can see, the price attempted to come down before it came back up, showing us that it has even probed within this particular location. So today we've adjusted the level slightly, but overall we will still be looking for selling opportunities on this kind of pair, or at least on the US 30. So we'll be focusing on these three areas. So aggressive sellers are all the way right here at the top. So as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area, our bias is to look for selling opportunity. So chances are we could end up getting this price, even pulling back all the way to this extreme area before we're able to look for those sells. Mainly because you can see the way the buyers have reacted within here. This is not necessarily a good sign, and you might find a counter, at least a small counter coming in, might end up getting to a higher price. But remember, even though we're going to look for the sells all the way at the top, the fact that the first level is here, let's wait to see what ends up happening within this location. If we do end up seeing some sort of global price action signal here, then we should be able to look for selling opportunities, making sure to manage our trade within this buyer's area. So hope that is clear on what we're looking at on the US 30 as we move on to silver. Now, silver, yesterday, our bias was actually to look for buying opportunities. Today, the bias has switched. We didn't manage to end up breaking this area to the downside, place our main support and resistance area to the downside. So yesterday, we wanted to see the buys. The buys attempted to go to the upside, but they weren't very strong. The price came back in during the US session. Price confirmed that it was actually holding below, and at 4:30, you can see the way the price really came down very aggressive. So overall today, at least on silver, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. We'll be focusing on these three areas. So you can see this red support and resistance area where the sellers pushed down from yesterday. So as long as we're holding below this red SNR, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunity. But be aware, you can see right now we're back within an area where they're biased. So no selling opportunity just yet for us. We need one of two things, either this pullback to come in, potentially within this support and resistance area for us to look for selling opportunities, or we could end up getting this price breaking this area to the downside. But if we do see the price holding below, then we should be able to look for selling opportunities. As you can see, it has attempted to do that before, but since it never held below, that was not a breach. So if we do end up seeing the price coming down, please be patient and wait for that pullback to come in. If you see it holding below, that gives your trade much more probability of working out. But be aware, remember, with gold and silver, as well as the indices, we are purely technical, meaning if we break and hold above the red support and resistance area, we will actually be able to start looking for buying opportunities. It's not that the pair will fall off our watch list. I guess the indices, gold and silver, are always going to be on our watch list. It's just determined based on the direction of where the red support and resistance area is. So wait to see what ends up happening on silver, and moving on to the last pair, a fan favorite for most people. You know, most people do love trading gold. So here, our bias is going to still be looking for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. So initially, we wanted to see whether or not we could end up getting the buys coming in and holding above, which you can see during the London session, it did end up attempting to do. Tended to come up higher, couldn't necessarily go as high as the top. And remember, the reason why we also point out these timings is because the markets are most likely to move. So if you did end up entering your buy right there, if you did not manage your trade at 4:30, you can see at exactly 4:30, that's when the price came to the downside. So at that point in time, no trading opportunity just yet. So today, the bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. We're still within the same areas, so we'll pretty much be focusing on the same locations to look for those buys. Aggressive buyers entry all the way down there. We have the semi-conservative and the conservative area all the way at the top. Now, the fact that the price is holding below within this area, not a good sign to look for a buying opportunity just yet. We need the price breaching and holding above for us to look for buying opportunities. So we'll be either waiting for that situation or potentially waiting to see if we can end up getting the price coming back in and holding above for us to look for buying opportunities all the way down here where the main buyers are. But be aware, remember, with gold and silver, and as well as the indices, we're purely technical, meaning if we do get the price breaking and holding below this red support and resistance area, our bias will switch and we can be able to start looking for selling opportunities at that time. So hope that is clear on all the currency pairs, including gold and silver. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the buy side with the pairs on the sell side. So I can be able to address any questions on the Q&A section if there are any. And I'm not seeing much, which is okay. Remember, as I did point out, next week, market timings are going to change. So be aware that the London market open is going to be from 11 o'clock, so 11 a.m. So today is the last day in the last 10 minutes, or at least we have 10 more minutes before 10 o'clock. So today it's going to open at 10. Next week, be aware, it's going to start from 11 in the morning. So at least that will give us a bit of time after these sessions. Rather than rushing straight into the pairs, we'll have at least an hour to be able to analyze, look at what currency pair is looking good, and setting up nicely before you're able to take your trading opportunities at 11. So do watch out for that. So I guess that's it from me and from us. Not seeing any more questions or anything of the sort. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. Really do appreciate it. Hope you guys have found value in these sessions. Remember, we do it for you guys, mainly because we know how difficult it was, especially at the beginning for us. So we try and give you guys at least the direction. You know, with trading, it's direction, then the timing, then the money management. But if you've got the direction wrong, everything else ends up falling out the window. So that's the reason why we're here. So feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details are there in the chat box if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share. So I guess that's it from me and from us. I want to thank you guys so much. So I'm seeing Patricia, you're asking, will the US timings change? Yes, they will, but not next week. So what happens is after the first thing that changes is the London session. So in Europe, that's when the daylight savings happens. So it's going to start on Sunday, actually. And that's the reason why Monday is going to be the first day. So next week, we'll still have the US opening at 3 and 4:30. However, the week after that, so it's only next week. So the week after that, the US timing is actually going to change. So the US timings are going to move from 3 to 4:30 to 4 to 5:30. So just add an hour on those. But that will be next week. But don't worry, at least since we'll be here, we'll definitely make sure to inform you guys. But just making sure that next week is the one that's just going to focus on London, because London is the one that's changing next week. So I hope that, okay, and we're saying asante, karibu sana. So thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have an amazing weekend. God bless. Happy trading. Cheers, guys, and bye for now.